Hello and welcome to Let's Review. My love of Warhammer 40,000 should be pretty well established by now, and since I'm in the midst of recording Battlefleet Gothic Armada, it seemed to me that it was a pretty good time to once again talk about a 40k game. Unfortunately, however, I've actually run out of 40k games that I own on PC, so instead I'm going to talk about one for the PS2. Which means that while we're going digging in the crate, it's actually my other crate, which means for once I'm not risking a hernia. As we once again go digging in the crate. "40k games have been around for quite a while now, and they've been kind of hit and miss. This game, if I'm honest, was one of the misses, though I am kind of getting ahead of myself. This is the point at which I would normally hold up my copy of the game and say, ladies and gentlemen, and then the name of the game. Unfortunately, I don't have my copy anymore because I lent it out a while back and never got it back. People wonder why I don't lend games very often. Regardless of that, ladies and gentlemen, Fire Warrior. You really are scraping the bottom of the 40k barrel, aren't you? Oh, come on, it's not that bad. As the name implies, the game follows the exploits of a Tau Fire Warrior, and this game was actually made at a time when the Tau were a relatively new introduction to the 40k universe, so a game exploring them seemed like a pretty solid idea. And to be fair, the story and characters are definitely the stronger points of this game. And the gameplay wasn't one of the better parts, if I'm honest. It's a fairly generic first-person shooter with slightly dull, repetitive combat, not particularly interesting level design, and it gets a little bit annoying later as the enemies become very bullet spongy. With that said, though, it does actually have a certain amount of charm, and you can tell that there was a reasonable amount of effort put into it, at the very least in the story and the setting point of view, which, for the most part, do work. For the most part? There are certainly a few quirks caused by the gameplay. The most notable among them is the fact that one of the weapons you can pick up from a defeated enemy is a chaos-infected bolter, one possessed by a demon that actually yells out the screams of the damned every time you fire it. Normally, even thinking about using a weapon like that in the 40k universe would lead to a pretty rapid fall to the ruinous powers of chaos, but here it has absolutely no effect on you. Though admittedly, it is questionable whether the Tau can even fall to chaos, given their negligible connection to the warp. You do realise that no part of that made sense to anyone who is not a fairly massive fan of Warhammer 40,000. Possibly, but let's be honest, if I actually took the time to explain every term you need to know, this video would be over an hour long, and, well, frankly, I don't have that kind of time. The game follows Kais, a young member of the Tau Firecaste, their warriors, who is being deployed on his first mission. Their objective is fairly simple: rescue a captured member of the Tau ruling class, an ethereal, who is currently being held in the tender clutches of the Imperium. I am assuming that this mission does not go entirely to plan? Not exactly. This game works very much on the principle of escalating threat. You begin fighting the Imperial Guard, who are in charge of covering the prison. You then take on the Ultramarines as they board your ship in an attempt to prevent you escaping with the liberated Ethereal. And finally, you encounter the forces of Chaos, who arrive just in time to really screw everything up. The whole game genuinely feels like it's building to something massive. And to be fair, it is, because it turns out that the local planetary governor is in the thrall of a greater demon, one which you have to fight off. By yourself? Yeah. I thought you said this game was lore-friendly. A greater demon could wipe out an entire legion of fire warriors without even breaking a sweat. Nothing short of a Grey Knight should be able to take one in single combat and come out with his soul intact, let alone his head still attached to his body. What? Nothing, I didn't realise you were that much of a 40k fan. I am still you, remember? While I may make more of an effort than you do to keep a lid on it, I am as firmly invested in the 40k franchise as you are. You know, I never really considered that. Doesn't that actually mean you know everything that I do about the games I cover on Digging in the Crate? Yes, I simply feign ignorance for the sake of the format. Now get on with it. Okay. If I'm honest, one of the reasons that I remember this game so fondly is that its voice cast is frankly incredible. Tom Baker, Sean Pertwee, Peter Serafinowicz, Bert Kwok, and Brian Blessed. Need I go on? I would be impressed if you could. While I have fond memories of Fire Warrior, I'll freely admit that it doesn't really hold up. Although I would strongly recommend you look up, at the very least, the opening cinematic on YouTube, because frankly, you just have to hear how damn good this voice cast is. There is something about the way that Tom Baker says, "the Tau," that just really has to be heard to realise how damn awesome it is. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to get back to the Gothic sector. After all, there's a Black Crusade needs dealing with. I'll see you later.